communion with a Sadguru, divinely competent guide, a celestial boon. The doyens of spiritual literature have written volumes in praise of Guru. The spiritually wise have also been advocating the necessity of Guru for self-advancement. Access to Guru has been considered as the exclusive gateway to personal welfare. Success in sadhana has never been considered possible without the help of a Guru. In the daily routine of life too, mother, father and Guru have been assigned the status of deities. And there are traditional directives to remember that the same reverence is due to each of them. The Sadguru, whose glory has been sung by the creators of spiritual doctrines, is none else than the human supraconscious, Antahkaran, itself. In fact, this is the focal source of wisdom constantly guiding the human being in his quest for righteous path and imbibition of excellence in character. It is not possible for an external Guru to appraise the real state of mind comprehensively. Consequently, his guidance, which is based on partial information, is not sufficiently effective. Besides, an external Guru cannot always accompany the disciple, who needs clarifications and solutions of innumerable problems appearing at every step and moment in his life. Which problem is to be solved and how, is the question constantly confronting the sadhak. In this context, one cannot rely on any person, however highly qualified he may be. A well-qualified advisor has his own yardstick of advice based on his personal experience which he uses for everyone, whereas for similar problems and circumstances, the type of advice required varies from person to person depending on the mental state of sadhak. Is it possible for a human being to appreciate this subtle difference? Only one's own supraconscious has the competence to do so, since a person is the best judge of his own internal and external environment. By constantly suppressing the inherent rational instincts of the supraconscious and disregarding the voice of the soul, one makes them feeble. The system through which the supraconscious gives the essential advice and useful illumination to life becomes weaker. Those who constantly disregard the voice of soul are found becoming victims of misdirection and are inclined to commit misdeeds. Otherwise, in the normal course, the force of instinctive guidance, Atma Prerana, is sufficiently strong and preventive to withhold a man from following a path of degradation. This inherent natural talent of the supraconscious is in fact the Sadguru. Guru Bhakti, cultivation of reverence and faith in Guru, comprises the process of offering oblations, Naman Pujan, and providing strength to this very Sadguru. Guru Diksha is the process of imbibition of the following pledge, Vrat. I will always obey the commands of the conscience, Antaratma. The one who strictly follows this dictum never deviates from righteous thinking and duty consciousness becoming human dignity. The moment evil thoughts emerge in mind, the defensive forces of divinity, Devitva, issue a signal of warning for the harmful consequences. This process gives birth to an internal struggle, where the supraconscious is active and alert and has not been made unconscious by continuous forced repressions. It rebels against the undesirable condemnatory process and persistently fights the alien evil elements, till they are totally expelled. While singing hymns in reverence to Sadguru, the exponents of spiritual doctrines have compared the former with the trinity of Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, creative, preservative and transformative powers of God. Sadguru has been given the status of Almighty, Parabram, who is the bestower of supreme eternal bliss. This similar metaphor would not suit any individual in particular however qualified he may be. There is no doubt that this metaphorical expression has been exclusively used for a divinely competent supraconscious. The concept of supremacy of Guru over God, Govind, has been advocated to explain that through supraconscious one can hold communion with God. Only for this Sadguru it is possible to remain as a day and night companion, as a constant advisor for righteous action. Only this Sadguru has the competence to make appraisal of correct situation and suggest appropriate successive steps for self-advancement. In a nutshell, the foregoing simile of Sadguru has only been given to an unpolluted, alert and active supraconscious, which can offer a stiff resistance to undesirable evil elements and has enormous strength to contain and make totally ineffective those potent forces, which instigate and encourage a person to commit evil deeds. Notwithstanding the above role of Sadguru, there does exist a need for seeking a guru in a particular person. However, the responsibility of latter, guru, is merely to introduce the person to the Sadguru and make him his devotee, worshipper and conscientious follower. With this much of achievement, the requirement of the human guru is fulfilled. While walking in the dark, legs of the person play the major role, whereas the walking stick merely lends a support. Likewise, Sadguru brings in salvation, whereas the physical guru in human form plays the initial but essential role of his own in making the former available to the devotee, that is, making him aware of his existence. Hence, either of them have been considered worthy of reverence in equal measure. For progress in the field of sadhana in spirituality, the support of a guru in a person is absolutely essential. Only the Ram Lakshman twin could win the war in Lanka. The war of Mahabharata too could reach the desired end because of the combined efforts of Krishna and Arjun. Any amount of hard labor by a student cannot give him higher education without the help of oral or written knowledge imparted by the teacher. In other significant fields of arts, crafts and science, the student needs not only oral, but also practical working education as well, without which he cannot become a specialist in the subject. The interaction of guru and disciple serves just this purpose. The job does not end by simply whispering some mantra in the ears of the disciple and telling him the details of rituals. Guru has also to bestow a fraction of his own power, spiritual capabilities, in absence of which, the disciple cannot go far on his path of self-advancement. While climbing uphill, support of a walking stick is needed. To reach the roof, one needs a staircase. This is the type of support which the guru as guide, companion and assistant, provides to the traveler on the road to self-advancement. The process of development of a child from an embryo cannot gain momentum unless it is allowed to remain in the womb of the mother, provided flesh and blood by her body and later fed on milk and tended to by her. A child finds itself helpless in obtaining food, clothes and other conveniences on his own and requires the help of guardians. A student, though learning on his own, seeks the support of a guardian for books and school fees and assistance in education from the teacher. Unilaterally, by his own effort he cannot proceed with his education. Parents bring up their children and the latter, on attaining maturity, look after their children. This traditional cycle keeps on repeating. The process of progress in the realm of spirituality too follows the same pattern. The guru hands over the earning of his spiritual gains of ascetic exercises, tap, to his disciple, which the disciple does not keep for his own self, but continuing the tradition gives to his student for his student's support. Generally, following the 10 doctrines of religion and 10 yoga, niyam, anyone can, without any difficulty, achieve the goal of life, and in this process there is no relevance of guru-disciple relationship. A traveler on a highway, if physically able, can reach the destination by following the milestones. But one who is also interested in sightseeing of adjoining places and wants to be benefited by the advantages available at such places, would need some assistant, who is familiar with the area and has some experience of the merchandise available in the area. Although the journey continues even in absence of such an opportunity, it is reduced to merely a monotonous motion devoid of additional advantages. For one, who on his way to spiritual progress, aspires to acquire relevant celestial benefits in its course and also enjoy the associated bliss and happiness, it would be necessary to seek the assistance of an experienced companion, Guru. Coming together of Guru and disciple and their joint endeavors fulfill this very requirement. Books on medical education contain full information on the subject being taught in a medical institution. Nevertheless, to acquire the proficiency of a practicing doctor or a surgeon, the student has to receive practical training under an efficient doctor or surgeon. A student cannot perform a surgery merely by studying the procedures and illustrations in the books. He needs a direct demonstration. The same holds true in respect of other fields of engineering, arts, music, warfare, education and science. Besides, this is not relevant only for higher levels of education. Unless directly assisted by a teacher, even students of a primary class cannot learn numerals and alphabets from an illustrated primer. Then how would one expect to be trained unilaterally, exclusively with his own efforts in such an abstract, uncommon and complex subject as self-advancement? For achieving the high status of Ram Krishna Paramhans, it is obligatory for one to engage himself persistently in difficult sadhanas for several cycles of birth and death. On the other hand, it is easier to attain the status of a Vivekanand in one life cycle itself, with the help of a guru. The formation of oceans was certainly a much more complex process than formation of clouds today is from the sea water. Rarely in history a Samartha Guru Ramdas is born, and very few have had the courage to tread on the razor's edge of the sadhana performed by him. On the other hand, by associating with such a person, a child having a nondescript personality could easily develop into a mighty warrior like Shivaji. A piece of iron cannot become a parasmani, the mythical stone capable of changing iron into gold. On the other hand, it is easier for iron to become gold by coming in contact with former. Everyone cannot become a firebrand like Chanakya, but it is easier for son of a maid like Chandragupta to become an emperor with the help of some Chanakya, who was his mentor. Rarely do celebrities of the status of Buddha appear by the will of God, but under their patronage millions of Ashokas, Anands, Ungli Mals and Amrapalas achieve eminence by discarding their small selfish interests. Superhumans like Gandhi seldom appear in this world, but their followers easily become presidents, prime ministers, national leaders and persons of historical fame. Fruits of self-advancement are a million times more potent and blissful than anything else known to man in this world. They signify the greatest and the highest degree of success in human life. Whoever could proceed in this direction has had innumerable benefits in all aspects of life. However, one who is desirous of taking this path is essentially required to look for an experienced and dependable guru. In the process, he has to be on guard against impostors, who, besides degrading themselves by imitating as a guru, also take their gullible followers to degradation. A traveler seeking the right course for self-advancement is also required to be alert, besides having Shraddha in his guru. Otherwise, in the present corrupt environment, he cannot hope for any progress. On the contrary, there is every likelihood of his falling a victim to some cunning trickster, and losing whatever he had achieved so far. Success in obtaining direct guidance of a competent, spiritually elevated and experienced guru should be regarded as a strong support for self-advancement. Besides guiding the disciple in sadhana, the guru also obliges the disciple by giving him inner spiritual strength, Atmabal, from the storehouse of his own earnings of spiritual energy. This spiritual interaction between the guru and the disciple has been metaphorically described in the literature on sadhana as Shaktipat. Literature on yoga abounds in descriptions of incidents related to development of capabilities of disciples by the guru, wherein the latter transferred a part of his spiritual power by way of Shaktipat. All beginners and sadhakas taking their first steps on the path to yoga and sadhana are inquisitive about the phenomena of Shaktipat. He is confronted with a number of queries. What is its mode? How far it is scientific? If there is any truth in the reported incidents of Shaktipat, is it possible for anyone and everyone to be benefited by this unusual gift? If it is feasible, then how it is carried out and for whom? In what way a common man can examine this phenomena? These and other related questions need considerations, since all aspirants of sadhana are desirous of knowing the answers. There is a mention in the book, Vivekanand Sanchayan, about the experience of Vivekanand who had felt the transmission of the divine energy from Ram Krishna. The celestial feelings aroused in him during the Shaktipat are beyond any description. A similar experience has been mentioned by the author of Autobiography of a Yogi. Transfer of spiritual energy by way of Shaktipat between guru and disciple is a traditionally established phenomena, the veracity of which is beyond any doubt. There are umpteen examples of this phenomena mentioned in legends in pages of history and Puranas. Unfortunately, in recent times a large number of misconceptions have become associated with this concept, confusing the mind of common man. In the name of Shaktipat, the so-called impostors of Guru have engineered such rackets which are likely to misguide anyone. For this reason, an elucidation of actual mode of Shaktipat has become necessary. As mentioned earlier, for treading on the path of sadhana a guru is to be appointed. Gu means darkness and Ru means light. That is to say, the one who carries from darkness to light or enlightenment is Guru. There are two Guru guiding the being, one residing within the soul, Antaratma, providing intuitions and giving inspirations, and the other one who is chosen as a person. Both are equally significant. Human mind is capable of perceiving only concepts related to the material world. For this reason, it is incapable of receiving and responding to those inspiratory signals, Atma Prerana, of the supra-conscious, which vibrate on extrasensory, supra-fine, sukshma, frequencies. Hence help of a spiritually competent guru is solicited. Thus the guru without, person, also awakens the guru within, soul, of the sadhak. With the help of his spiritual energy, Atmabal, the former charges the disciple with motivations conducive to promotion of virtues. Guru plays a very major role in helping the sadhak in overcoming the problems and turmoils in course of sadhana. Human existence is equipped with innumerable capabilities. Man can achieve anything in this world. Nevertheless, to take advantage of his inherent storehouse of power, Anta Shakti, he must know the mode of their exploitation, Atma Bodh. Herein comes the role of Guru. Not only does the Guru introduce the disciple to his disciples' dormant powers, he also educates him in every possible means for activating and developing them. The disciple acquires advantage of the spiritual strength and self-confidence which provide him competence to struggle against undesirable elements and help him to get rid of deep-rooted evil instincts. This gift of Guru is received by the disciple as development of Shraddha within self. But the benefits which he gets by the grace of Guru are directly proportional to the degree of Nishtha, profound faith and conviction, in high ideals. The grace of competent Guru is bestowed only in this manner, by virtue of which the disciple becomes more and more competent day by day along with progressive upgradation of virtuous traits in character. This is in short the philosophy of Shaktipat. Shaktipat necessitates time as well as resources, which the sadhak acquires from his Guru by way of sadhana associated with profound Shraddha. The process of Shaktipat is not completed in a jiffy, to obtain miraculous powers in a flash. On the contrary, it is a prolonged process of sadhana, with the help of which the disciple develops his power of competence. This is the way in which Shaktipat is bestowed by the Sadguru. There are other less known methods as well for development of character and spiritual strength of a disciple. These methods are, however, not available to the common man. Besides, they are hazardous to an undeserving disciple. Only a rare individual gets benefited from the latter process. Those who have developed their capacity and merit, patrata, sufficiently enough to sustain and retain the high intensity of this charge of spiritual energy, Shakti, are blessed with celestial rewards from the Almighty. The process is, however, highly specialized and not for a common man. Not much is known of the manner in which Vivekananda and Yogananda underwent Shaktipat. Beside, their celestial experiences are beyond description. Nevertheless, everyone is familiar with the outcome of grace of their Guru on them and the consequent changes in their life. Shaktipat brought in phenomenal changes in their lives. Dissociating themselves from the then prevalent lifestyle of the masses, they chose their own paths of actions full of hazards and uncertainties. Voluntarily and happily, they embraced struggles for promotion of ideals, as a consequence of which, their social stature was elevated to such lofty heights that they became embodiments of enlightenment and inspiration for the entire humanity. The personality of Ramakrishna Paramhans was seen reflected in his disciple Vivekananda. What did the latter feel during the Shaktipat? What did he visualize? These and other such questions are irrelevant to the issue. Consequences of Shaktipat are more important. The true achievements by the grace of Guru appear only as an upgradation of character and a total development of personality. Intensity of manifestation of these attributes in disciple is indicative of the amount of spiritual charge bestowed by the Guru. The process is, however, not unilateral. It is essentially mutual interaction. While on one hand the Guru showers his blessings on the disciple, the latter endeavors to intensify his disciples' Shraddha. Shraddha results in development of Nishtha in high ideals.